Hello, everybody. So, good evening. We are happy today to have an online meeting with some educators, and
Hello,
um,
everybody. So,
I
good
heard the
evening.
voice coming back.
We are happy today.
Please, can you mute your mic?
E-
Thank you. So, at the beginning, we would like to thank Mediterranean Alternative Forum for this initiative, especially Mr. Ridwan or its president, Mr. Ridwan Musarraf, who actually brought us together in this event in which we will share our ideas and thoughts concerning e-learning at this crisis or at the moment of pandemic. Actually, this meeting will be like a small chat with you and me and maybe Ishaq. We hope he join us now in order to see, for example, the cases from Moroccan context to Nigerian context and to maybe US or Spain. I don't know. Mrs. Monica will tell us from which perspective she will speak. Yes, and all of us we know that this coronavirus has affected all countries, not only Morocco. It's a global pandemic, and that's actually make a challenge for all the governments, all the ministries at all levels, at all sectors, and education is one of these this sectors. And we would like to start, for example, to ask you, for example, what are the challenges that you see that education has faced in your maybe your small community, maybe your organization, maybe your country, if you are if you would like to cover all the nation, because we know that every country has different situations. We can speak about like a small region, a big region, and the state, and so on. And also, when we are talking about education, we are talking about private education and public education. And also, we will discuss some other opportunities, because yes, this virus or this pandemic has a lot of problems, and also as I see, there are a lot of opportunities or gifts. So, in order not to make a long introduction, I would like to start with who want to start, by the way? Mrs. Monica or Karima? The floor is yours. Who want to start first?
Maybe Mrs. Monica, as we are running this
Okay.
from Rabat, so
Yes. So, Mrs. Monica, the floor is yours. I will stop my mic and I will give you the floor to speak about the situation where you are living, the challenges that the people maybe telling you, and opportunities. And you are free to speak about what you want.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for inviting me to this chat. Right now, we see an opportunity that we maybe had not explored before, having this meeting between people of several countries. So for me, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really glad to be here. And from my experience, I live in Madrid, and I teach in a U.S. university here in Madrid. And the 15th of March, all the US students had to leave to the States. And we also have in the US campus, we also have people from other countries, not only from the US. I had a student that left to Syria, another student that went to Morocco. And so we switched everything to online because they left in the middle of the semester. And what were the challenges? Well, first of all, the first week that we switched online, I got sick. So that was the first challenge. Having to deal with the sickness, which they don't really know what the consequences are. But anyway, I was sick for the first 10 days of the lockdown in Spain. And meanwhile, I had to learn how to translate all my education to online and how to adapt to online. So I took the advantage. I felt better during the mornings. So in the mornings, I learned everything. And then in the afternoons, I didn't feel so well. So I rested. But anyway, that was my initiation to this switch over to online education by being sick in bed. So anyway, what are some of the challenges that we experienced? first of all, the time zone and but anyway, we could adapt because as we're doing right here today, we have different hours, but we can adapt to that. But I think the technical problems were one of the obstacles. Also, the psychological impact, of everybody having to be confined at home. That was something that was really hard. Another thing that we had to adapt was the time, because it's not the same to teach during an hour and a half face-to-face than to teach through Zoom, where your students are looking at you, but you don't really know if they're looking at you or if they have a picture of them and they have left somewhere else. So that connection that you have in the classroom with your students disappears. Well, it disappears. It's transformed, because later I realized that you can transform this connection in another way. So how did I have to adapt? By shortening my lectures, by taking into account that, Karima, we were talking before we went live, we were saying that there was a lot of technical difficulties. Even in countries, in Spain, we have technical difficulties. Many students have to do their coursework with cell phones from their parents because they don't even have a computer. And in the States, the same way. I had a student that lived in New York who had 7 brothers and sisters, and they all had to share one computer. So that's another challenge, the accessibility.
Yeah.
Good things about this for me, it's been an exponential learning curve. So I've learned so much, and I see many opportunities that can arise from this situation. So I don't want to talk more before Karima can talk also. So that's my brief introduction. Karima.
Okay. So I think you spoke my mind that approximately that what I was about to say from my experience. But let me get a little bit of background before coming to talk about how we shifted our lifestyle and our methods of teaching also to adapt to this situation and adopt e-learning as a way of teaching during this corona outbreak and in the future. First of all, if I want to speak about this issue of e-learning and education, my first question here is: are we really prepared? That's the first question. We were not prepared. I mean, even the countries that already had distance learning and adopted some e-learning platforms, they were not very well prepared to absorb this issue because of capacity, technology, and a lot of other issues that you already outlined. And many students and teachers alike experienced that. And before, we used to have some kind of a distance learning, but a distance learning was not like the normal residential, education. It was like a complementary. So it was seen as like an extracurricular activity. It was not part of the curricular, the official curricular. And many universities and schools, they adopted a kind of a support package with some tools and technology in addition to instructor-led to support students with multimedia content to help them with their normal education. So it was not really the concept of distance and e-learning as we're talking about it right now. Also, the e-learning, as I said, was not something that was seen as an accredited part of the education, neither from the point of view of ministries of education, from schools, from universities. So, for example, if you follow an e-learning, or distance master degree or bachelor degree or any type of education, it is not accredited, and the value of the degree, the ministry and others do not care about that. It was like, oh, okay, it's like a kind of an on-job training or complementary. But I think now the perceptions is changing a little bit as, e-learning has become a fact of our daily life. So first of all, teachers were not prepared because we do not really have a digital culture first. Many teachers who used to teach in a very, very standard and normal way of teaching, who may not even have to do with any advanced technology, found themselves, they had to learn quickly to adopt their teaching methods to the technology, or not adopting per se the teaching methods. Because here, I think we can talk about the pedagogy, because that was one of the challenges and one of the problems. So we use the tools, but we did not adopt the mindset, neither the pedagogy. That's another challenge. Also, you spoke about something very, very important. And I think it's not just about Morocco or Africa. It's about Spain. It's about all of the words, the connectivity and the infrastructure, and also the socio-economic and psychological conditions of the students. I experienced myself. I've been seeing students, even in private universities, who had problems. Many of them do not have smartphones. Many of them do not have proper connection. We're in the process of e-learning, we got a lot of cut off, and sometimes you outline it. Sometimes, when you are teaching, you say, okay, are you here? You sound like as if you are speaking to yourself, and you have to do a double effort to explain and explain again. And sometimes, a teacher is not becoming solely a teacher, but turn to be a coach. First of all, because the teacher has to take into consideration the student's mindset. The impact of the isolation. Students lack sleep. Sometimes the hours are early hours, so they find it difficult to follow the courses. They have been bombarded with a lot of technological tools all at once without any preparation, neither teachers nor students. So, and the 2-hour course, for example, at a university in class, it's not the same thing as in a webinar. You cannot. You have to shorten your class. You have to change your methodology. You have to adopt very interactive and new methods of teaching so that you can keep students concentrate with you. And that's a lot of efforts. And many of them do not have any capacity nor any trainings beforehand to adapt this to this situation. So, of course, we have experienced all these type of problems. The other way, I think you outlined it, and it's a problem of technology that contributed to widening up the gender gap. It's the accessibility. Many of them live in a house with 7 or 8 or more people. They live in one room sometimes. They have only one computer or only one phone. They cannot access to technology. They cannot access to infrastructure. They don't have a proper computer. So how are we supposed to have a new digital inclusive policy that would not leave people who are living in impoverished areas and people who have special socioeconomic conditions behind? So I think this experience has taught us a lot. We're in a transition period, and then we have to think about the infrastructure. We have to think about the methodology. We have to think about the capacity building, and we have to think about inclusiveness of education. And the most important thing that I wanted to conclude here is that we have to think about reviewing the education system as a whole. Because if we are moving now towards a more digital acceleration, this should be part of our curricula to prepare this generation to the new challenges of digital acceleration in the future. I don't know if our moderator is here.
Nathan?
Nathan, are you hear us?
No.
Nathan?
I don't think.
You see here, we're so much privileged to use these technological tools, and we always have these connection problems persisting. Nathan is joining us from Nigeria, but then I don't know if he has proper connection or not. And I don't know if our moderator is still here. And it was interesting, to talk about the psychological impact. Maybe Monica, to tell us about your experience, how you have lived this and how you have dealt with the students, especially that many of them are less concentrated, and because of the isolation, and maybe what type of additional efforts you've been doing, to continue teaching your students in, let's say, a much more better condition.
Well, I wanted first to comment everything you said. I agree with. I wanted to comment something that you said. For example, we think that our students, which are young students, I teach students that are 20, 18, 20. We think that they're digital natives, no? Because that's the generation. But really, they've had also a lot of problems with them because they weren't prepared. They weren't ready to be taught in the way that we had to transform teaching. That's one thing. So they also had to go through a learning process, no? And not only educational process, but also the psychological process of having class like this. And another thing you said, that distance learning or online learning wasn't taken seriously. And I think now it's going to have to be taken seriously, because I think it's something that we're going to have to deal with, no, from now on. So I think what you said, that the ministries don't take it seriously, and I agree that distance learning many times is like, oh, I got a doctorate online, and you're like, but now I think it's no. Now I think it's going to have more importance. And really, distance learning requires a lot of effort, and it's not like you said. It's like you said, that you need to prepare for many more hours than if you just went to class and taught face to face. So that's something that you said that I found, that I also agree with, and I find interesting. And also the psychological aspect of learning, no, of interacting with people through the screen. I'm a person who likes to joke a lot in class and to be very, very close to my students, and this you can do well. You can, but it takes an effort, no, and it takes another frame of thought, no, to try to interact, and like you said, no, to make the class more interactive. For example, I use Kahoots, different things, no, to make them. One good thing that I liked is that first of all, I got to know the name of all my students because I had to put it on their little screen. And second, because we were at each other, I was home and my students were home. It seems like we got to know each other better because we were inside their homes, no, and they were inside my home, and that made a special connection, which I liked, no, because it was like more personal. No, they got to see my house. They got to, like, sometimes my kids would come in and hello. So it was like more, no. It made this online learning, which is very cold at some times, it made it more human, no. It made it more familiar. So that is something that I really enjoyed, no. And also I did tutoring hours 1-to-1, and that was also very good because you get to know the students much better. Maybe in class on face-to-face, maybe you don't need that. You need to talk to them, but I set up interviews and only for each student, and that is something that
you talked about something quite important, and here I think what is quite interesting to discuss is the pedagogy, because I said, we've been dealing with the technology. Yes, we had no choice anyway to deal with this technology. We have we're spending a lot of time and efforts more than preparing a normal class. Sometimes you don't even prepare. You just come to the class, and because you have the structure of your course in your head, you just do your class, and then it's okay. It's fine. I mean, you're doing it perfectly because that's your job. But online, you have to take into consideration a lot of aspects, and more specifically, how you're adapting your style of teaching and the pedagogy and the content. You said that you're using Kahoot and maybe quizzes and all other types of interactive tools that would help these students, interact more and feel the pleasure to continue the class. Because the challenge here is how you are using these tools, gamification, multimedia tools, so that you can keep them concentrate and not feel bored by having a simple PowerPoint type, class that would lead them, to be in a status of, oh, maybe when this crisis is going to be over. So that's, I think, something that needs to be worked on in the pedagogy. And we've been seeing during this period of Corona virus that there are many different platforms online that provided free tools for everyone to use. Whether in e-learning or in webinars, etc., more specifically during this period. So I think we need to take advantage of these tools to adapt them in our teaching method, so that we can make those classes more light, it's a light version, and also more lively.
Yes, but what I am thinking that I teach here in Spain, but what do you think would be the challenges? For example, the challenge that I think the challenge that we have in this near future is teaching the teachers to teach online. That's one of the challenges. I think there has to be a lot of formation for this. Then the aspect of connectivity, how can that be solved? Because even in Spain, I think that there was estimates that 30% of the school children were losing the school year because they couldn't connect. How do you do that? The government has to maybe spend money in connectivity, or the schools have to get grants. What do you think, Karima, would be the solutions? Because
I think that's also another. That's also another problem. I had students from different other countries who were, before even the class, they were sending me messages stating that they had difficulty in getting connection. They've been, they had to walk for many kilometers to find a place to recharge their phone so that they can have access to very limited connection. And then if they manage to connect, they got cut off. Even if in some of the platforms we have the ability to save the course, and then they can watch them later, but still it's a technological fatigue for them and also for the teacher. So these are some of the things that I think probably now many do not think about, because we're still in a period of a shock with this isolation, and we're not thinking much ahead about future inclusive policies and how are we going to solve these problems. I think we have experience from the public sector and also from the private sector. We documented some of the challenges and issues, and I think this is a problem that do not have to do only with less developed countries or students within a remote or marginalized area that is not having access to infrastructure, but I think it's a worldwide issue, and more specifically during this period of isolation, everyone is connected. So you see here in this webinar where we're trying, our moderator has been trying to connect many times. Nathan from Nigeria connects and gets off. I know that, for example, I've been in Nigeria many times, and I know that many they have many issues of connection, and also sometimes they have power cuts. So these issues probably will be impacting this, because I think we're going to live with Corona for a longer period, and this, not calling it social distancing, this physical distancing is a reality that we're living today. And as many, administration and institutions now are adopting even remote work. So I think this will become our reality. The thing here is that I think whether ministries of education or even schools and universities, they need to do an evaluation of the current status and document all the types of issues that teachers are facing in terms of capacity, in terms of access to technology, in terms of teaching methodology, how to deal with students, also from the students' feedback on e-learning. And we should not forget the PTAs, the role of parents teacher associations, and the role of parents, in supporting the kids, to follow this education online, because it's a whole package.
Exactly. That's a good point, because as I told you, I have 4 kids, and I've had to work, and I've had to be with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I hope they don't evaluate my kids with the work that they have done, because they are really evaluating me.
Yeah.
and the help that I could have provided. But that's that's a very important issue, because, and this is something that you've talked about, the gender gap. Many times, the people who are going to help the children at home are going to be the mothers. And so that's another issue that has to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be dealt. And another thing that you said is that it doesn't matter, as you said, if it's a developed country, it doesn't matter, because this type of learning, what it brings up is that there's a lot of differences, even in the same countries, between people who have access to technology and people who don't. Between schools that have resources and schools that don't have resources.
Yeah.
So I think I always think that education should be a priority, in any of the programs of the government. And now with this, there has to be adaptations for the new reality. Like you said, Karima,
mm-hmm.
Maybe there won't be coronavirus in the future, or maybe they will, but I'm sure online is here to stay. So it's something that we're going to have to deal with. We have to learn, we have to adapt, but we need the resources. We need the resources for the mothers or the parents to help the children. We need digital support, psychological support, like you said, because
maybe something quite interesting. Maybe we can note here. I think when we're talking about the role of the parents teacher association that could play as a force of proposition in proposing alternatives to accompany also parents to support this in the future, because you said something quite interesting related to the situation and conditions of both mothers and also fathers at home. Just a quick example, today, I had a certification course, and our trainer, from time to time, he had to babysit his kid.
Yeah.
So, and the same time for mothers, the problem, I think, is that the responsibilities of the parents will be a burden, will increase much, because they are isolated home. They're doing also their remote work. They have to support their kids in their e-learning education. And for example, in our societies, in our culture, there is not a real culture of a space. So the notion of a space does not exist. So we're talking now, maybe someone will come and be on my back on the live, and there is no issue. So the professional setting and conditions where we're working is not like when you are focusing on your professional, area. And also, if you are living in a home where you don't have a proper office to work, then it's a bigger issue with the noise, with a lot of other conditions that others should take into consideration, because working from home is not working at school, is not working at your office. It's a different style, it's a different life. It has a lot of sometimes the discouraging conditions that makes you, even you as a teacher, losing concentration, not let alone the students. So I think these things need to be taken into consideration. And you mentioned the time zone, and also not just the time zone, like if we are in an international setting, but also the teaching hours. Because, for example, during this coronavirus, many people, without exception, whether you're teachers or students or anyone, they are lacking sleep.
Oh,
So
yes.
sometimes they spend a lot of time, sleeping until like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. They have to wake up early in the morning to follow a class. How do you want them to concentrate on a class? So with that taken into consideration, the flexibility of programming, courses in the future should take into consideration online, that it needs to be shorter, it needs to be focused on the point, it needs to be lively, it needs to use a lot of interactive methods. Now students, they like visuals more. They don't like to be in a setting of having a teacher who's doing a lecture. So because our Y generation is changing, the mindset is changing. People are on social media, they like things differently, they receive information differently, they have different perception. So and another thing is that what type of integrated teaching methods that we are using to prepare these students to the new challenges of the job market. Because as the world is going more digital, we have a very, very rapid increase in digital acceleration today. With Corona, it's like a baby boom.
Yeah.
The whole world is going digital. So what type of content we are providing to our students so that we can prepare them for the new challenges of new jobs that will be created in the coming future with artificial intelligence, with automatization, with this digitalization. So what we're teaching today also is something that we need to think of, and we need to reflect on the changes of our curricula so that we can adapt and prepare both students and also teachers to the future challenges of digitalization.
Yes, I agree. As the world is getting more globalized, another aspect to take into account is what you're saying, that we're more not, well, I don't want to generalize, but like you said, that we're more crowded in Spain, the family, all the kids there. And sometimes you have to take that into account. Depends on who you're talking to, or if they understand, if suddenly your kid comes out. So apart from all those things that we talked, also now, because we're entering the houses of the people, we have to be more aware of those cultural aspects, of
Yeah.
maybe having somebody interrupting your class more, and that's what you also have to prepare your students for this, no? But that's challenges that they're going to deal with in their day-to-day. And another very interesting thing you said, and this is something that we've talked about in the association that I work for, is preparing the students for the future. So this new opportunity, this thing that has happened, let's take advantage, and let's try to see what we can offer the students for the future, because it's going to be a new way of working. So they're going to work in a different way, no? And we have to
yeah, definitely.
I think we also have to learn. So well, I'm learning a lot from you, so thank you.
Yeah, same. I think, another thing that probably I wanted to add here to this discussion is that our experience during this isolation period is that we've been bombarded with so many platforms, So many platforms, and each platform has a different, functionality. And of course, according to the purpose that you have, you use this platform or another platform. And when you take part in whether e-learning or discussion webinars or any type of online platform, you use a different platform. So you have to be educated all the time by yourself to learn how to function, without any teacher, without any coaching, without any guide, without any tutorial. And people, believe me, they got so tired. Like, I'll tell you something. Me, in my computer, I have many platforms that I have downloaded, because each time on an e-learning platform or on a webinar or something, someone told me, you have to install Zoom, you have to install your StreamYard, you have to install BlueJeans, and so on. And I find myself that, I had to take time to learn by myself how these things function, so that I can follow all these tools. And today we have these tools, tomorrow we'll have 30,000 new tools, because this is technology. It's the same like when you're using phones. Today you have a phone, tomorrow you have a different type of phones, and functionality. So how are we evaluating these type of platforms today, so that we can try to select and adapt one of the best performing platforms that are easy to assimilate, that are having multifunctionality. So it means that I don't have to use, for example, Zoom for this and StreamYard for this and the other one for this. It's too many applications that neither students nor teacher can absorb. So we need to think about an interactive learning platform that has a lot of purposes, that serves a lot of purposes, and very easy to assimilate, because not everybody is technologically savvy. Not everyone has that capacity to follow with the technological advancement, and should not, But even if today we are living in the fact that things will go digital, at least there should be a minimum standard capacity of a digital culture that we should give to students and to teachers, so that they would know to use the ABCs of these platforms. But they don't have to have an advanced level of that. So we need to think about providing them with an easy platform that could serve a lot of purposes, so that they will not be confused, and they will not, let's say, resist to using it, because we are in a transitional change. And in any transition, that there is resistance. It's like, when, for example, when you're so bombarded with a lot of things, you got, so many tired, you are so tired. And then you said, okay, this is too complicated. I don't want to use it anymore. So it's the same thing. So if we think of providing them something easy to use and something interactive with nice visuals and friendly use, I think probably they will get used to it, through time. But if we keep providing them too many platforms that are very complicated, I think there will be resistance. Students and even teachers will be so tired, and we will not serve that purpose of e-learning. What do you think?
I think so, I think it's correct. Like, you have to focus on 3 things at work and work with that. And also, you have to take into account which one works better with bad connectivity, with bad connections. Some work better, some work worse. I mean, some work worse. And I think, yes, making it very clear, having a platform that encompasses everything that you need, That's very important. So, and what you were saying, no, that you need to take into account all these things. It's very important to plan your lectures very well and well in advance. Now, like you said, no, now we can't go into the classroom and talk. You have to like think about what you're going to do. You have to structure what you're going to do. You have to take into account many things. And so for the teachers, it's also challenging, but at the same time, it's good because it makes us think too. No, sometimes we get accommodated to the same type of teaching, to the same things that we've done over and over again. But this has made us, at least for me, it's made us start thinking again, start learning. I've seen a lot of YouTube tutorials to use the different platforms. So, and another thing is what you said at the beginning of the conversation. In one of the universities that I teach at, some of the teachers have had a very hard time in adapting to online education because they use the email. So there's a lot of gap between teachers that use some computer programs or some interactive programs, and others that the only thing that they use is the email. Entonces, we have to, or institutions should also provide support to those professors, or those teachers that are totally lost in the online education system. So that's and for that to have 3 or 4 things that are very clear and very to the point is very important. Not have 50,000 things, like you said, have 2 or 3 things that work really well and form your teachers in that. Yeah. 2 or 3 platforms that work well, that encompass everything, that they're going to work in mostly everywhere, that you teach or where you teach. That is very important. So for this, you have to think a lot before. So there's a process of designing. There's a process of a thinking process. I've thought, my mind has been very stimulated for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Because of all this.
I don't know if Abdelila, are you here? Abdelila?
Karima and Monica, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we do. Are you still on?
Bueno, we're facing the challenges now.
Oh, yeah. All right. I had another question that I wanted to
try to fix it. I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah, we hear you. Hopefully.
I think I lost a lot of information that you were discussed.
Do you hear us very well? You want us to summarize for you the main points, or?
Yes, I'm still on.
Yeah.
I think I lost a lot of information that you were discussing.
Do you want us to summarize just main ideas that we talked about? Hello?
Well, I think there's a lot of good ideas that we got from.
You hear us?
I think you can just go on, and you can just, for example, tell me where you are now.
Okay.
Just to intervene and say my point as well. I will come back to the live once we finish it.
Yeah.
And to see all things you have discussed.
Let us know when we said.
Just please tell me what things exactly you discussed now. Just I would like to express my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Sure. Yeah. We hear you. Well, I actually we talked a lot about the challenges that we faced through online teaching during this period, as we are both.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah. As we are both teaching online and adopting e-learning. Yeah, and we talked about a lot of challenges related to both teachers and students, including digital culture, capacity, working conditions from home, socioeconomic conditions of both teachers, students, and also the role of parents in accompanying their students in this e-learning platforms. We talked about gender gap and accessibility. We talked about prospects of building inclusive policies, digital policies in the future, so that we can reduce this gender gap and increase more accessibility for people who have less access to technology and infrastructure. And also, we talked about the conditions of teachers, the pedagogy, the challenges that they're facing today, and that they have to adapt their teaching methods to online. We talked about the value added of e-learning and the accreditation of e-learning today. What was it before, and how is the transformation? We talked about the curricular and how we should adopt in the future e-learning to be part of the educational curricula and part of the education reform system. So these are some of the major points that we have discussed. Of course, we discussed this in detail, but we just wanted to give you a heads up. Are you here? I'm not sure. Anyway, I wanted to, Monica, I wanted to ask you something since we talked about accreditation, and I think this is some of the things that I think probably we had to deal with in terms of education policies and in terms of legislation in the future of degrees that should be accredited, online degrees that should be accredited, because there's no point of adopting e-learning, from the formal education system if you're not recognizing those degrees, So this is one point. And also it brought me here to ask the question about contracting, and freelance teachers now, because, for example, now the status and the conditions of teachers who are not official part of the public universities and schools, or even part of private universities that are doing, freelance courses, or specific, like I have the 2 to 4 courses on a part-time basis. What would be their status, and is it and because today we are adopting more remote work, are we going to move more to contracting teachers based on
Oops, I think I'm alone now.
message? I think we all have a problem. Instead of having trouble connecting, we have unstable connection. Are you here?
I'm here.
Hello?
Do you hear me, Karima? Do you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I hear you. I hear you, Karima.
I hear you too. I think she has.
Nice.
Abdelila,
Yeah.
did you want to intervene? Do you want to say something?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yes. Actually, because of coming back of the connection, I would like to focus on one point, maybe the point of higher education. Monica, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice.
Karima just brought up this subject, and what we were saying is that many times online education is not considered like real education or like a formal education. So what we were saying, what we have talked about is that if we're going to transition to online education more and more, what needs to happen is that the government should take into consideration this online education, no, the education that the e-learning that they offer in the universities. For example, I know here in Spain there's one university that's all online, and they do recognize the credits that the students get, the Ministry of Education. But I think if you're going to move more towards online education, there has to be more recognition on this type of education, because even though we may think it's not something formal, it's not serious education, really, I think it has a very good opportunity to become even more. Well, there's more opportunities to increase, no, the the giving of knowledge, no, because we have so many resources available, no, that you can even teach more than only face to face. So I think that's another great opportunity. And then Karima was also saying about teachers that if there's going to be more freelance teachers, no, teaching in universities, not also teachers from the universities. One of the things that I see as an opportunity is that teachers from all over the world can connect into your classroom. For example, if I'm going to talk about women's issues in Africa, or in Morocco, I could contact Karima and say, Karima, do you want to teach a class today? And she comes in through whatever platform we're using. This is an opportunity that is opening, and it's a great opportunity. We can have anybody from anywhere in the world teaching a course or teaching a class or teaching a lecture. We could have done this before, but we never thought about it. So I think this is one of the best this is one of the very good opportunities that we have because of the situation. Having teachers checking in from different parts of the world. For example, I teach oceanography. I could have people from Florida going into my classroom and talking about different issues. So yes, I think these freelance professors, Karima, that you were talking about, I think they're going to be more and more no, involved in the everyday lecture, in the everyday normal lectures that we provide.
Yeah, wonderful.
I also said, Karima, that if online teaching is going to increase, obviously the government has to recognize, no, that this online teaching is as serious as face-to-face teaching, no, and it can count for credit, or it can count for recognition.
Yes, actually, to be in the classroom is not like when you are in the virtual classes. We do agree that there is not a huge difference, but there is a difference when you are in the class. You are all focus on what the teacher or the professor said. Maybe you will have no connection or Wi-Fi. You are directly with your professor or with your teacher as well as with your students. But it's actually at the time of globalization, it's time to recognize like the online education at all universities. Now, for example, many universities, and since you mentioned the recognition and maybe or the equivalence, especially if you study in a country and you move to another country, this is still a big problem. Especially, I'm talking about Morocco. Many students can study in one of the international universities, in Russia, in Ukraine. By the way, I studied in Russia, and I found a long process to get my equivalence to my diploma. So it was a big issue. I'm speaking with my experience.
I have it too.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. That's why I said, we've been fighting for just normal equivalence of normal, let alone e-learning education degrees that are not even recognized. When you tell them, for example, I have an online master, I said, what? Who cares? But now it's a fact. So I don't know in terms of policies and in terms of legislations, what ways they're going to think about. Well, there are some universities actually who already adopted, even before years before Corona, they adopted bachelor's and more specifically masters online,
Yes.
with a specific amount of time that they reserve for instructor-led face-to-face courses, complementary courses, and of course specific meetings with your instructor, so to finalize your final research project. And they are accredited, but not with a lot of universities. So you would find that this online master is accredited with some few universities, but when you take this to other universities, they'll tell you, no, you need to upgrade this degree with additional courses, so that your degree will be recognized. And this is a problem. I mean, what's the use of having future e-learning, adopting e-learning, if you're not recognizing these types of degrees? But the issue is not just the policy, maybe also changing the mindset, because we need to have a digital culture, and we need to change our mindset and move towards inclusive education, and move towards accessibility, and move towards finding out, I'm not going to say easy, but finding out flexible ways so that people who could not access universities to finish their education, because when you're providing these online, there are many people who would be able, no matter what their conditions and where they are, if you have the minimum standard requirements of technology and infrastructure, people
Monica, can you hear me?
Yeah, what people would be able to finish their education. But if you do all those types of complicated,
Monica, can you hear me? Maybe
Karima, yes, we do.
Has a problem with the connection, right?
No. I hear you. You hearing me, Monica?
Monica, can you hear
I
me?
hear you, yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
when you do all these complex procedures for accreditation and for supporting people and encouraging them to finish their education, no matter where they are, then there is an issue. So I think this is something that really need to have a very good reflection. As I said, it needs to be part of the curricula, because all the new jobs, the future jobs, will be digitalized. So we are in the age of the fourth industrial revolution. And in the future, there are many jobs who will no longer be valid. So even the way we're teaching, what type of pedagogy we're using, the content we're teaching, and how our education is employable, making people ready for the job, for the new challenges of the job market. This is something that we need to think about. It's not about the technology. The technology is a tool, but the basis for education need to be reviewed as a whole, from the primary basic education to university and post university level education, and on the job training.
Abdelila, I have a comment, Karima.
Yeah.
Having online education also brings education to maybe remote places in the world where people cannot get a higher education degree because they're too remote, or they have to travel. And this is an opportunity for them to get a degree. Something that I just thought, that's very interesting, because maybe somebody is living somewhere that, I don't know, in a remote place, but if they have that technology, or they have one computer and Wi-Fi, they can get their education. And it's and if we recognize that this education has the same quality as a normal face-to-face education, it could be a great opportunity for many people, to study where before they couldn't, because they couldn't move, or they was too remote, or whatever other reasons. So this is another door that opens, no? If you bring technology, you could educate people that maybe otherwise couldn't be. So they could have an education or a higher degree education that maybe otherwise they couldn't have. So
yeah, I think probably something quite important here to mention when we talked about also the mindset is the philosophy of education itself in relationship with employability. Are we today having education to get that degree and get a job, or are we having education to learn, adapt, and later get a degree? I mean, is it our objective is just to get that piece of paper, recognized or not recognized? Because today in the job market, they no longer care much about your degree or which university you got your degree from. They care about what value added you're going to bring to that institution or that enterprise. They care about your skills. They care about your know-how. They care about your expertise, your experience, more than your degrees. So all those life skills and other types of complementary skills and other types of practical skill sets that you get are the most important thing that would prepare you in the job market. For example, today, I would not imagine a job without digitalization. So if you don't have your digital passport with the basics of digitalization, it will be very difficult, as many institutions are adopting remote work. So you have to deal with the computer, you have to deal with all these platforms. So if you don't have those skills, how are you going to work? So those type of skills that we're talking about, they need to be part of the curricula. It's not something that is nice, sweet, complimentary. It should be integrated.
It's exact. I agree totally. You have to provide education that's going to make you employable.
Exactly.
Because if not, education for education is very good. No, you can learn, but you have to have that employability. No, because you have to take the opportunity to make that person employable. So yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Correct.
Abdelila, are you here? I think we need to wrap up.
But it was a pleasure talking to you, Karima.
Yeah.
And I hope we can talk in other occasions, because
yeah, sure. I mean, I think
went on the surface of this.
Yeah, we could continue, offline talking and exchanging, as I myself, I've been documenting several practices and challenges and also best practices from my experience during this coronavirus in teaching and also trainings. What should be done, what should be adapted, what types of tools that needs to be used, and how to make this a lively and enjoyable classroom. Of course, it was difficult for us to adapt quickly, but as we're going on into this transition, I think we have a lot of great lessons learned that we need to share and discuss it further.
I'll definitely contact you to continue the conversation, because yes, all the things that we have learned in a minimum amount of time will only it's only going to make us better to learn more and to prepare better for the future. So I really enjoyed this conversation. And Abdelila, I don't know if you're here.
So Abdelila, are you here? Because we're wrapping up right now. I don't think he's here. So, we just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the people who were watching us live. We've been experiencing, difficulty in talking about e-learning and talking about digitalization. And I think this is just a little portion of what we're experiencing every day when we're doing these webinars, also doing e-learning. So this is something that we're going to live with for quite a long time. Unfortunately, Nathan is here with us, but he's not able to connect or even share with us his experience, but I think we're going to connect offline. We're going to continue this conversation as we need to wrap up right now. So thank you, everyone. And I hope we're going to have more other webinars to discuss maybe other sub-subjects, because I think this is a broad subject and it has a lot of other interesting sub-subjects that we need, I think, to think of and maybe brought in other expertise from different institutions, from private sector, from public sector, and maybe trainings, institutions and others, because I think the situation is different. Public sector is different from private, university, from a school, and from training centers, so that we can probably learn the current situation, how they have dealt with, what are the great lessons learned, and what type of proposal we could outline here. Maybe we could, share it with our policymakers to take into consideration as they're thinking ahead of future policies that they will be doing post-coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. I would also like to thank the Mediterranean Alternative Forum for organizing this and for bringing us in contact, because yes, there's a lot of potential in these conversations, and there can be a lot of little other things that come out of this conversation. So thank you very much. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Monica, for your efforts and for your time as well as for your my dear sister Karima. Actually, it was very nice opportunity to have you in this online meeting. I didn't have the chance to hear the voice of Mr. Ishaq.
No, I'll see there.
Is he with us?
No. I think you did not even hear us. I think we already wrap up the debate, and Mr. Ishaq had connection problem. Unfortunately, he were not able to connect. So probably we're going to continue this conversation offline.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is not the end. It is the first, and we will have next meeting. And why not after the pandemic we can have real meeting. Why not? Yeah.